Welcome back, chess friends. So the Turk was a fake automaton that secretly concealed a small but very strong chess player. It became quite famous, and in 1809 a game was arranged with Napoleon Bonaparte. The hidden operator for this game was a certain Johann Allgaier, and usually the Turk would have the first move, but as you can see, Napoleon is very humble today, having recently crowned himself emperor, but not quite humble enough to let the Turk go first, so stay classy, Napoleon. And allegedly, Napoleon attempted a few illegal moves during this game, but the Turk was not fooled and would just place the illegally moved piece back to where it came from. So let's see how Napoleon got on. He played e4, we have e5, and here Napoleon, who is known for his inventive genius on the battlefield, created the Napoleon attack with queen to f3. I mean, he is one of the greatest military geniuses of all time, so of course he can. Revolutionary. We have knight to c6 and bishop to c4, and yes, Napoleon is going for the scholar's mate here, but the Turk thinks that's a load of Istanbul and blocks it with knight to f6. We have knight to e2 and bishop to c5, and here Napoleon doesn't want to be caught short on the queen side, so he plays a3, protecting the b4 square. We have d6 from the Turk, allowing his bishop a nice diagonal here, and we have Napoleon who castles. Though we ought to say palaces, because he liked the Chateau de Fontainebleau, the true home of kings. But enough on the hypocrisy of revolutionaries. We have bishop to g4, and foreshadowing his army in Moscow 1812, Napoleon retreats to d3, and like the Russians, the machine advances. Now, Napoleon tries to chase away the bishop, much like he did when he crowned himself emperor, but the bishop captures the knight, the queen captures back, and the black knight comes to f4 and threatens the queen. And a good move here for Napoleon would be to advance his queen to g4, but much to the Turk's delight, he brings it back to e1 instead, and it's now a forced mate in 8. So I'd like to see if you can find the move that will make Napoleon face his Waterloo. I'll give you 10 seconds on the countdown clock, and let's go. Time's up. So if you thought the move was knight captures the pawn on h3, you just let Napoleon escape all the way back to France to raise a new army and ravage Europe all over again. Sad times. The correct move was actually queen to g4, threatening checkmate straight away on g2, backed up by the knight. But I have to say, the Turk didn't actually find this move. He played something else, but let's go through this forcing sequence anyway. If you look carefully, Napoleon still has all his armies tucked up beneath his sleeves on the queen side of the board, and he can't get them across to the king side fast enough to help out. So pretty much the only delaying tactic Napoleon has got is to push his pawn to g4. But that enables the knight to take this pawn, which delivers a check, so the king moves. And here the queen doesn't pick up the pawn. Instead, it gets behind the knight, ready to deliver some revealed checks, which looks very nasty. So from here, all Napoleon can do is throw away the lives of all his men in order to survive a few moves longer. So bishop captures the pawn, the king captures back, and now the queen moves into the line of fire from the bishop, but the Turk ignores it and plays the reveal check, so the king moves. The queen picks up this pawn now, which is check again, so Napoleon is able to block here with the queen, and the Turk captures the queen, but you can't capture back because the pawn is pinned by the dark square bishop here. So the king has to move, and then the Turk delivers mate on g2, so very nice. But as I said, the Turk didn't find the sequence. Instead, if we go back to where we were, he played, after queen to e1, he played knight to d4, and we play on. Bishop to b3 from Napoleon, and now since the Turk has advanced his queenside knight to the center of the board, he's now perfectly fine to capture the h3 pawn with his other knight, unlike the position from the guess the move earlier. This is check, so the king has to move and he goes to h2, and again the Turk brings the queen up behind the knight, ready to play some reveal checks. So Napoleon has a complex position. Some would say he's had it since he was small, but how does he react to this? He plays g3, trying to hold him back, but he is stronger. He has knight to f3, which forks the king and the queen. In fact, Napoleon has been blown apart. We have king to g2, and of course the Turk picks up the queen, which comes with another check. So the rook captures the knight, and we have queen across to g4, and d3 from Napoleon, trying to get his bishop out. We have the bishop captures the pawn on f2, which threatens the rook here. So the rook moves to h1, which threatens the knight, but the Turkey gobbles up another pawn, which comes with check. So we have king to f1. And here the Turk backs off the bishop to d4. He wants to make way for the queen to deliver the checkmate, but Napoleon spots it and he brings his king to e2. And here, queen to g2 with check, and he's going to pick up the rook. So looking bad for Napoleon, dynamite play from the Turk. King to d1, and he Turk the rook, which comes with check. So king to d2, queen to g2 with check again, and of course it's not looking like Napoleon's going to be able to survive this. It is a bit of a tall order. The king comes back to e1, and now knight to g1. He would like to checkmate with the queen on e2. Napoleon's knight makes one last Leipzig, protecting the e2 square, but he doesn't have much elbow room. The bishop captures it, and all that Napoleon can do is capture it back with the pawn, and we have queen to e2, checkmate. And my, Napoleon did surrender. Unfortunately, he was said to be quite upset, but between you and me, I feel like a win when I lose. See you next time.